Good morning. I'm Erin Parrish. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Gainesville, Florida. I'm your worship associate today. I use she, her, they pronouns. I'm a short white woman in my late 60s. I have short brown hair with more and more silver threads appearing. I'm wearing a navy blue t-shirt with white lettering which says, "Protect trans kids, protect workers' rights, protect the planet, protect women, protect people of color, protect democracy." Unfortunately, that doesn't cover everything right now. If you are a new or returning visitor, we welcome you, and we hope you can find a home here. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and we're so glad you came. After service, look for the visitors table. It has a green tablecloth. It's in the social hall. There's folks there who can answer questions about this congregation or Unitarian Universalism. Next to that table is a new members table, and new members can get to know each other there, or you can introduce yourself to the new members. Hello to our sibling church in Valdosta and anybody else watching us online. This sanctuary is built on the traditional land of the Timucua and the Seminole peoples. We walk humbly upon this land to honor them. There's a lot happening here in November and December. After service today, there's a special town hall meeting, and please remain in your seats after the service is finished. Kristen Stevens, our vice president, is going to provide a brief overview of the town hall focus and the procedure. We'll divide the congregation into groups, into 3 listening circle groups, and each will be facilitated by the members of the governing board. Each circle will discuss a list of questions provided by the board facilitators for 45 minutes. And here's Kristen. And after this, her short intro, we'll go into the social hall, grab some soup and bread, and then go to your assigned meeting area. Next Sunday, the 23rd, is a bread communion and the new member recognition. And on Thanksgiving Day, we have our traditional potluck feast here in the social hall at 2 p.m. If you need any information, Joanna is setting that up so you can see them after the service or anytime. No, well, not anytime, probably. Don't call it 2 a.m. December 6th is Winterfest here. And then there's the winter solstice and Christmas Eve services. So there's a lot happening in here in November and December. The following is adapted from Sharon Wiley. You are welcome here, all of you, every part of you beautiful just the way you are. You have inherent worth and dignity, nothing to prove here. You do not need to change anything about yourself to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all beautiful just the way they are. You are extraordinary. Each and every one of you different from each and beautiful in your own beautiful way. Breathtaking. Let us worship together. Cor Rowe is lighting the chalice for us today. This flame is a call to action, to dismantle oppression, to protect the vulnerable, to honor the living, and to fight for a world where every trans life is sacred and free. May this light ignite our courage, strengthen our solidarity, and guide us toward justice.
Good morning, friends. My name is James Chase, and I am the Director of Lifespan Faith Development here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Gainesville. I'm a white, medium-sized, non-binary person with short brown hair, glasses, black shirt, a gray jacket, and black pants. I use they, them pronouns, and I am happy to be here with you today. Today we are gathering with full and maybe heavy hearts. Some are heavy, some are hopeful, and all are welcome. Transgender Day of Remembrance asks us to show up with honesty, to remember, to grieve, and also to wonder who we are becoming as a community that claims justice and compassion as our call. We are Unitarian Universalists, seekers of truth even when it is uncomfortable, builders of community even when it's messy, practitioners of love even when the world insists on fear. May this moment we have together be a moment where we breathe together, where we listen deeply, and we remember that showing up just exactly as we are is holy work. Welcome.
Please rise as you are willing and able to joyously sing hymn number 1018, Come and Go With Me. Each week, we invite you to write what is in your heart in this book of joys and sorrows by the doors of the sanctuary. Our first joy is visitors that have come to visit us today. If you're comfortable, you can raise your hand. You don't have to. Caden, Barry, Kirsten, thank you for joining us. We're so glad to have you. Pete Murray writes, I am quite pleased to be attending our first ever Gainesville Humanist meeting at 1 o'clock this afternoon at the Millhopper Library. All of our UU friends are welcome. Tom Miller reports that Barbara is in Shands Hospital awaiting test results for pain in her spine. She's resting comfortably and very bored. She has her phone and laptop, so human connection would be appreciated. Peter Marino is thrilled at the generosity of this congregation in making Thanksgiving special for the clients of Gainesville Area AIDS Project. The collection is sponsored by the Social Justice Committee, and it does look like they're overflowing there, Peter. A joy, we had a great CPR training here yesterday. 8 of us attended, so if you're having a heart issue, there should be someone around to help you. And the instructor was terrific, Jonathan Carone. I was there, and she was terrific. For all that remains unspoken, both joys and sorrows, may the caring of our community offer you both kindness and hope. And today our choir will present a hymn during the Stones ceremony. It's a special treat to share this music written by our own Steve Atlas. The lyrics are written by Steve and Elise Atlas, and the message is one of the power of our UU community and the loving remembrance of those who have left us. So we want to share the lyrics on the screen while our choir sings Coming Together. So you can please come forward to drop a stone or two in our communal bowl. When all have dropped their stones, someone from the care team will drop 2 stones in the water for the joys and sorrows of the folks joining us online. I hope someone from the care team will come up. Jim Wright, or, oh, maybe we'll have 2. Marilyn Roberts.
Hello again. I'd like to invite those who have volunteered to read poems to bring their poems forward. And while they come forward, which might take a moment, I wanted to talk a little bit about Veterans Day, which was also this week. Talk about a heavy week. We've got a couple of heavy hitters going on. And I think it is a wonderful evolution I've noticed in our congregation, where for many years, Veterans Day would go by unnoticed and uncommented on. It was something that I think, as Unitarian Universalists who seek peace, it brought up discomfort. It brought up pain and a sense of conflict within us that in our world there is war. There is a time for peace and there is a time for war. And though we wish that there wasn't, there often is a time to fight. And so I want to take a moment of quiet to just honor our veterans, to say thank you to those who have stood up and fought for things that we might take for granted in our day-to-day life. So I'd like everybody to just sit in silence for a moment. Thank you. In Alachua County, the organization Veterans for Peace puts out a poetry contest every year, and every year without fail, some of our amazing members who are veterans or who love veterans bring to me copies of the poems that were submitted and won. And for the last couple of years, we've tried to make sure we take time to read those poems. And so today we have 3 volunteers, and I will actually be reading another poem at the end, written by one of our members who I had no idea had submitted a poem. One of our kids won, so I wanted to read his poem aloud as well. We'll start with Savannah.
Okay, so Peace by Gidget Glenda. Outside in nature, alone and quiet, just how I like it. By myself, waiting, the moon so silent, so quiet, just how I like it.
Thank you. Piper.
Mother Earth by Ella Paranello. She's like in second grade Oak Hospital. The quiet footsteps of peace tiptoed around her sleeping mom. Adoring mom, the especially snuggling mom. The girl wraps her hands around her mom and said, I love you.
Thank you. And Remy?
Searching the Stars by Vera Podlesnik. 5th grade PK Young Developmental Research School. Maybe it isn't good to always be looking on the bright side, because if all you see is light, then you won't see the improvements that can be made to you and the world. If you've noticed, in the dark, there is rain. This cry from the sky may bring joy to the gardeners who were searching and eagerly waiting for the first bloom of spring, which means I will not be the gardener, because without people like me, there would be too many people looking for a rainbow and not searching for the stars.
Thank you, Remy. And our last poem was written by Leo Maj in 2nd grade at Meadowbrook Elementary School. Noah, oh Noah, send the dove. Find land, dove, for one and all. Peace is not fighting. Animals have peace. Animals, oh animals, don't be scared. Send God and angels and Noah too. Now we're going to sing our children out to the play yard where they're going to get some energy out. Thank you very, very much to all of my volunteers.
I have to take my drink of water. The reading is from John Rodell, an open poem to closed hearts. When you hate someone else because they are different than you, you are unknowingly hating on the very architect of creation itself. To rage against someone you have never seen before because its exotic presentation offends your orthodox eyes suggests that you believe the divine artist is worried about what you think. Did the first burst of cosmic energy care about its critics when it began to paint life across the constantly unfolding canvas of the known universe? Hell no. It just wildly created this delicate masterpiece of endless fire, orchestrated chaos, and a trillion or so wobbling worlds like a Michelangelo made out of an army of swarming angels. Every inch of everything that exists is a unique piece of abstract splatter art. So, if the divine was so unrestrained when it came to creating the stretching forever kingdom of stars, it would make sense that God was even more uninhibited when it came to how we were made. Each of us are a wow sculpture of unbridled, never seen before genius. Who are you to decide how the everlasting potter molds their art? Get over your fear of people who look, live, pray, love, believe differently than you do. Because the more you hide from what is foreign to you, the more you hide from the miracle of this existence. You only get to ride this skin and bone roller coaster for so long. Quit closing your eyes. Stare into the swirl, because that's where God's most profound artwork is. Hurry up. Open your eyes. You're missing it. Open your eyes. Hurry up. And once you do, you will see it, the relentless power of creation. And oh, how you'll gasp when you finally see it. Today's anthem was composed in 2021 by our own wonderful Jane Kosnikova. She was inspired by this poem by prominent Black American poet Paul Laurence Dunbar and put his words to music. She arranged this version just for our choir, and she's accompanying and directing today, presenting Invitation to Love.
With the eyes
Thanks for sharing that with us, Jane. All designated funds from today's collection will go to Peaceful Paths. If you put a check in the plate, it will go to Peaceful Paths unless you specify in the memo line that it is your pledge. You should specify Share the Plate for credit card donations through the website. Taylor Murphy is here to tell us a little bit about the work Peaceful Paths does, and she'll be in the social hall after service if you have any questions. And as we were introducing ourselves, she told me she designed the t-shirt, so she designed my t-shirt today. Do you need this?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I recognize some faces, so I can tell it's a nice space because I enjoy all of those faces. I'm here with Peaceful Paths. I'm the community outreach liaison at Peaceful Paths, and I work on the development team with all of our fundraising initiatives. But just kind of a little bit about us. We are the domestic violence center that serves Alachua, Bradford, and Union counties. We have our main office here in Gainesville, but we also have some remote spaces in Bradford and Union. And we provide a variety of services. We have an emergency shelter, a 24-hour helpline. We do a food pantry, which has been super essential right now. And we have a clothing closet. We do economic empowerment courses to teach people how to apply for jobs and kind of get back on their feet. And the list goes on. I could sit here all day and talk about all the amazing work that our advocates do. But yeah, I appreciate all of you guys being here. I appreciate you being so welcoming. I grew up Catholic, so this is very different. But it's wonderful, it's amazing. And yeah, we would appreciate your donations. We also have a holiday program coming up, so if anyone's interested in adopting a family for the holidays, we do a great program there. And I have lots of info with me. If you wanna come find me after, I'd be happy to share some more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Taylor. What a blessing it is to give and receive, to share and support this church where love, justice, and equality inspire our acts of service and compassion. The offering will now be joyfully given and gratefully received.
Hello again, friends. Today is our Transgender Day of Remembrance service. I'm going to shorten that to TDOR because I stumble over my words on a good day, and today is a little bit of an emotionally tense day for me. If this is your first TDOR service, let me introduce you to what these services would usually maybe look like. We might hold silence. We might read out the names of trans people who we have lost to violence or to despair. We might whisper or shout, "This is unjust." We might light candles. And then usually after a service, we would go into the coffee hour, drink our coffee, and go home. People show up to services like this because the pain is real, because they do care deeply, and because grieving together in community is holy and sacred and necessary. I have been to many of these services, sometimes several in one year. The rituals can be powerful, heartbreaking, reverent, and as a trans person, I have always been deeply moved by them, and yet there has always been something missing for me. So today we're not going to do much in the way of ritual. Instead, we're going to focus on something else. At most TDOR services I've attended, I have almost never experienced a moment where the ritual of grief lifts us into the practice of meaningful change. For many of my trans peers, TDOR services have started to feel a little hollow, not out of malice, but because they're missing the next step. So when I first stepped up to do this service, I asked myself, what could I say today that would make it really matter? What story could I tell? What song could I sing? What metaphors could I use to inspire us to metabolize our grief into action, to become a community that is truly ready to offer sanctuary to not just transgender people, but gender expansive, non-binary, gender non-conforming? And believe it or not, that's still not what this service is about. Because in the early days of working on this sermon, I quickly figured out two things. First, it is not fair or right or just to expect everyone to care deeply about everything. We are finite beings. We have limited time, energy, and emotional capacity. Unitarian Universalists have a remarkable ability to try to care about every single injustice, but we really are limited in what we can take action on. Second, it's not really my job to change this community. This community is already exactly where it's supposed to be and exactly where it needs to be to get where it's going. In this congregation, we are all already fighting for something. Some of us are out there on the streets fighting for reproductive and trans rights. Some are protesting weekly outside of detention centers. Some are fighting to keep food on the table, and some are fighting to get out of bed and put on pants. Some in this congregation are fighting every day simply to stay alive. And sometimes those fights are the bravest acts of resistance that we could ask from anyone. I do not believe that we can or should care deeply about every injustice. If we spend all of our time doom scrolling, filling our minds and our souls with everything that is heavy and wrong in this world, we will fall into overwhelm, paralyzed and unable to take action or do anything. This is true for individuals, and it is true for communities. I want to revive an old metaphor from a sermon I gave earlier this year or last year or sometime. I like to think of each individual person as a plant, different, unique, worthy. Some are showy flowers, some are sturdy vegetables, some are medicine, and some are spiky succulents that survive in hard, dry soil. Every plant has value, and every plant is worthy just by virtue of existing, of having the conditions that they need to thrive. And I like to imagine a community like ours as a garden, a place where plants with shared needs and values grow together, where our combined roots and resources contain more than any of us could alone. A place where when one plant droops or fails, others offer shade or compost or support. Not every plant can thrive in every garden. The world needs many gardens, shady forests, sunny vegetable beds, rock gardens, wild meadows. A plant might be miserable in garden and thrive and flourish in another. We have so much potential as a community, but if we are trying to be a garden that makes everybody happy, we are not living into that potential. If we want to enact change, we have to figure out who we are. What do we care about? What are we willing to prioritize and live in discomfort for? What do we want to do well, even if that means we cannot do everything? Here at UUFG, we say we care about so many things. We care about immigrant justice. We care about racial equality, comprehensive sexual education, reproductive rights, queer inclusion, children and youth, climate justice, voting access, feeding the hungry, mental health, trans rights. If you ask us if we care, we will say yes, absolutely, of course we care. And we do, up to a point. We care until it is time to show up and do the painful, uncomfortable work of transformation. Then our follow-through becomes maybe a little bit thin and scattered, not because we are bad or evil people, but because we are tired and we are stretching ourselves too thin. And because, if we're honest, some things call to us more urgently than others. We say that children are our future, but when we ask for volunteers in religious education, suddenly almost everyone besides parents or a few core volunteers have something else to do. We say we are a welcoming congregation, but we don't always want to do the uncomfortable work of practicing pronouns on our own time, or expanding our understanding of gender beyond the binary. Our actions show a truth that our words are not telling. That gap between what we say and what we do, I call that inauthenticity. It grows out of fear of conflict, out of a fear of change, and out of shame. Inauthenticity hurts. It does damage both to those within the garden and those who are seeking for a home. Many of us here today, trans and cis, know something about the pain of inauthenticity. Many of us grew up performing versions of ourselves that we thought others would accept. We might have smiled politely, dressed modestly or appropriately. We went to church. We laughed at the right jokes. We didn't make a fuss when people stepped on our toes. Putting up with bad behavior and doing everything we can to be seen as good. We did those things and we do those things because it feels safer. If we do and say the right things, maybe we won't get kicked out of our garden, right? But living as someone you are not is an exquisite sort of pain. It is suffocating, it steals sleep and steals joy and purpose. Pretending to fit into soil that is not meant for you is a slow and painful death. People have asked me in this community and out, why didn't you just stay in the closet? Why change your name if you're not really a man? Why bother with pronouns at all? Why wear a skirt if you didn't want to be a woman in the first place? If you're taking testosterone, why not just use the men's room? And my answer is clear. I know the answer because the pain of being unknown is not something that people can survive forever. In a world where trans people are not welcome, finding places where we can sink our roots into the soil and live in authenticity is like finding an oasis in a desert. And this community advertises itself loud and clear as one of those spaces. On this day, especially, I want to take a moment to look at the numbers. And I might cry because I haven't read through it without crying. Research shows that 4 in 10 transgender adults in the US report having attempted suicide at some point in their lives. Among transgender high school students in America, about 1 in 4 report having attempted suicide in the past year alone. And over half of transgender high school students have seriously considered it. These rates are several times higher than any of their cisgender peers. 1 in 4 trans youth tried to kill themselves in the last year alone. When some people hear that, they might say, well, maybe we should stop the teenagers from being trans. To me, that's like saying, my succulent keeps saying it's a calla lily, and it keeps dying when I water it like a succulent. I don't want it to die, so maybe I should stop watering it. I should hold back water until it decides to give up and just be a succulent. The plant isn't the problem. The garden is. The shame is. The conditions placed on love and positive regard is the problem. In states where anti-trans legislation has passed, suicide attempts among trans youth have gone up dramatically. But here's the other side of that. Do you know what reduces suicide attempts among trans and gender nonconforming youth by about 40%? One adult. One caring, supportive adult in their life who says, I see you, I might not understand, but I'll try, I'll learn, I'll mess up, but that's on me and not on you. You are worthy exactly as you are, and you are worth trying for. Over and over, research shows that simple things save lives. Pronouns used without ridicule, without blame, preferred names respected, gender-inclusive bathrooms. These things are like water in the desert, not because on their own they matter that much, but because they are evidence that a garden is really ready to receive a calla lily. Being able to live authentically without shame, without fear of being shut out from love and community, that saves lives, not metaphorically, but literally. When I first met Reverend Christie, who many of you might not know, but was a non-binary minister here when I first started coming, I had never actually heard about non-binary people. And as soon as I met them, something shifted inside of me, and I had this sinking dread and this realization that I might perhaps be closer to a calla lily than a succulent. And I really didn't want that to be true. I cried about it, I denied. I had never liked myself very much at all, but that was one of the lowest points in my life. I was in so much conflict with myself that I didn't want to live. I tried everything to talk myself out of being trans, tried to talk myself back into being who I thought I should be, even though I was miserable. And eventually things became so painful inside of me that I watched myself pull out in front of another car on a high-speed road. The life I had been living at that time had reached a breaking point. It was going to end one way or another, and in that moment when I saw myself do this, I realized that I would rather let that old life end through intentional change than through collapse. That terrifying moment became a beginning and a wake-up call. And soon after that, I started working in earnest with a therapist. After a first initial several sessions of me trying to convince the both of us that I was not trans enough, he encouraged me to go ahead and maybe try just a little tiny dose of testosterone and see what happened. It was a terrifying step, and it took months to get to that point, but the immediate mental health benefits were undeniable. With one small change, I was allowing myself the care that I needed as a calla lily. And I kept all of this to myself for a long time. I wasn't ready to come out for years, but I had started the painful work of change. It took time, grief, discomfort, to learn to love myself and as I am, and it was worth every second of it. You don't stumble into authenticity by accident. At some point, something in you, your body, your spirit, your sanity, demands truth. And honestly, we are Unitarian Universalists. Seeking truth is definitely part of the gig. I did not become trans because it was trendy. I didn't pick they, them pronouns for the attention. For me, authenticity was the only path that pointed towards life. Living in the closet was slowly killing me. And I believe that congregations have closets too. We have the ways that we dress up, the phrases we say, the identities we claim because we believe that we have to be acceptable. Here in this congregation, we say we're anti-racist, but I can't remember the last time we did sustained work together on knowing what that means and how we can be prepared as a community to offer sanctuary. We say we are radically inclusive, yet many refugees from queer-phobic churches do not feel safe here long-term. We struggle with inconvenient pronouns and ideas outside of the gender binary. We are telling the world loud and clear that we are a garden where all the lilies and the succulents and the wildflowers are welcome, while not doing the work to prepare the soil. Just like individuals, when congregations perform a false identity, eventually something will give. Congregational inauthenticity is not a moral failure, it's a strain. It's a pressure that will force reckoning. And here's the good news. That was all really mean. Thank you for sticking with me. We are not actually in that bad of a spot. If you've noticed tension lately, if you've noticed changes happening around you, signs being put up, things happening, have hope. All of this is exactly as it's meant to be. We are growing. In congregational life, we are shifting into what's called a program-sized church. Signs of that can include tension, the need for new structure and communication styles, creative staffing decisions, and an identity transition for the entire community. This is a difficult time to be sure, full of work, conflict, and growing pains. but it is also full of possibilities. All meaningful growth comes from discomfort. And if we want to seek out truth in learning, we have to be prepared to navigate the complexities of community with love, compassion, and grace. Things are going to hurt, people will disagree, and like the tearing of a muscle after a long day at the gym, we will be stronger for it. This congregation has so much potential. We could be at Grace Marketplace weekly, we could offer after-school programs, we could create a true community center, have legendary TGIF dinners, become pickleball champions of the world. We could become one of the few truly safe places in North Central Florida for queer youth to gather. None of these dreams are wrong or bad as long as they are coming from a place that is true. If we can figure out who we are, we will be a hearth burning in a cold world. Together, we can do what none of us could do alone. But here's the catch. To live into our most authentic selves, to be able to truly say yes, we have to be willing and ready to say no. Or at least not right now. Something I learned in a family ministry class was this. If we spend our energy doing what other people expect, and we do it half-heartedly, we will be remembered as being half-hearted. But when we pour ourselves into what is uniquely ours, and do that with care and excellence and passion, some people who are here might be called elsewhere, and that's okay, because becoming ourselves creates clarity. Those who stay will do so with open eyes. Before last year, we had an annual trunk or treat. It was fun and sweet, and we usually had about 9 cars in the parking lot. Maybe 2 or 3 would be really well decorated, and some of them were, like my own, were just a car with a bowl of candy on the trunk. Some years we might have a bake sale or some kids' activities up front. It was never bad. It was always earnest. But down the road, another church had bounce houses, fog machines, food trucks, cotton candies, a clown, a DJ, face painters, and we weren't competing with that. For our first-time visitors who came through, we never saw them again. We were not leaving a great impression. And after that class, I realized maybe we didn't need to put our energy there. So we stopped. And the first year without a trunk or treat, people were not thrilled with me. My own kid has still not entirely forgiven me. I felt awful, and I felt like I had failed. I really wanted to be able to run a trunk or treat that everyone would love, but it was not where our congregational energy wanted to go. Instead, that year, we put that energy into a trick-or-treat service where the kids came through and got candy from our members who were here. And we had a big old pumpkin destruction messy play date with about 60 kids, and TV20 showed up. It was joyful and chaotic. It was sensory play. It was neurodiverse friendly, and it was low structure. It was very much us. For months after, I heard from adults in our community with tears in their eyes how joyful it was to be able to hand out candy to children again for the first time in sometimes decades. And our children started to recognize faces of people outside of the kids program. When you find the thing that is right for you and for your garden, you will know, because authenticity is magnetic. Our congregation is growing, but we still have limited energy. We cannot do everything, and we cannot be everything for everyone. So today, after service, we're going to be having conversations about what we do want to invest in, what is life-giving, aligned, joyful, and authentic for this garden as it is right now. Every yes is a promise, and every no is a sacred boundary that protects the energy that we need to fulfill our yes. When we can clearly say who we are and actually live into it, some plants might move on to other gardens, but if this was never the right garden for someone, then that is not a failure, it is a gift. If we try to do everything, we will do everything poorly. If we choose a few things and do them well, even if it means letting go of who we thought we should be, we will thrive. I've heard the idea in this space and others that one day we're fighting to end all of the isms, racism, classism, sexism, the obias, all of the issues. We'll finally be at peace, and friends, I love you dearly, but I don't think that's where we're going. I don't think that in our lifetime we will see the day where there is no conflict and there is peace on earth, because struggle is not a failure, it is part of the process. We are not meant to eliminate conflict. We are meant to become more human as we navigate it. When our culture told that big, beautiful lie that we had fixed it, that we were living in a post-racist society, that everything was good, we started seeing pain and discomfort as abnormal, as a failure, and we fell asleep. And now we are waking up and everything hurts, not because we're doing something wrong, but because we're finally feeling what has been locked away in our body's memory for decades. My sister and close friend Sarah Boyette has been doing incredible work in her Love Boundary Garden, and she talks about grief as the process that metabolizes loss into change. Grieving hurts, and we have to grieve who we thought we were, who we thought we were supposed to be, so we can discover who we actually are. We are in a time of growth and becoming, and my job is not to tell you who to be. That would be like a gardener dictating the needs of their plants in their garden, or a friend deciding somebody's gender, favorite color, friends, and future. My job, which I love deeply, is to love this congregation as it is and help it become more fully itself. So I hope to learn today, who are you? What do you care about? Where does your energy naturally gather, and what gives you joy? And then I really hope to know, what can I do to help this congregation do those things very well? My hope is that we can become a community where truth can finally be spoken aloud, a congregation willing to come out of its own closet with faith that no one will be cast out for being themselves. That kind of honesty will be unsettling, and if we stop being all things for all people, that will hurt, but it's not failure to hurt. It's informed consent. The same honesty will draw new people to our garden, people hungry for a community that is authentic, that is the real thing. The more unapologetic we become about who we are, the more others will trust us with their time, their energy, their hearts, knowing we are who we say we are. I'm skipping bits and pieces because we're running long. We can try to keep performing the vision of ourselves that we wish was true for a while, or we can become the community we actually are with intention and without shame, and then we can dare to live into it like it matters. So to close, may we be real enough to be uncomfortable, brave enough to be seen, and alive enough to find joy even in the sorrow. Amen.
Please rise in body and spirit to joyfully sing hymn 1019, Everything Possible, in your teal hymnal. We're going to start on the top of page 2, but I would suggest you follow the words on the screen. Cor, will you come extinguish the chalice? And remember to stay seated, because Christian has something to tell us about the town hall. And you can read the chalice words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And you can be seated.
As we come to ourselves after this hour and change of reflection, may we remember that every community, like every person, is always in the process of becoming. May we come together to tend this garden with honesty, with courage, with patience, and with care. And before we go back out into the wider world, let us remain together a little longer, sharing some soup, sharing stories, sharing truth, as we gently explore who we are and who we feel called to be. Go in peace, but stay for nourishment of body and soul. Thank you.
We didn't quite arrange how we were going to do the transition. So